Hi, and welcome to All In, Addicted Gamblers podcast. I'm here with Brian, a 14-year compulsive gambler, and I am Chris, someone who just doesn't get it. Never been a big gambler. So anyways...
So you get it now.
Yeah. Brian has an uncle who recently, or at some point in his gambling career, told Brian that he just didn't get gambling addiction, or didn't realize that it was a real thing. He understood that there were alcoholics and that there were drug addicts, other groups that require meetings and 12-step programs and things like that. But when Brian first told his uncle about his gambling addiction, his uncle was genuinely surprised. He didn't quite realize that it was a thing.
Yes. So I had been, after, you hit a certain age, and your parents know about you, but my aunt and uncle didn't really know about me, and I kind of thought, you know what, they're probably wondering what the hell is going on with their nephew. Like, why did he move back in with his parents?
Yeah.
Why, so I was giving them a ride. I picked them up from the airport. I think they usually go to Hawaii once a year, and I was picking them up from the airport. My uncle's a smart guy. He started a business engineering degree, went to U of M, all that good stuff, and very smart man, but I was genuinely floored when I was in the car with them, and I said, listen, here's why I am in the place I am in my life. I said, I've had a gambling addiction for, at the time when I told them, I think it was probably 11 years or something. And, they're very nice people. They were kind of like, oh, I'm sorry for you, Brian, blah, blah, blah. But my uncle said, and that's why we're talking about it, because I haven't forgotten it, which is, he said, I didn't realize, maybe not I didn't know, but I didn't realize gambling addiction was a thing, that there were meetings for it, that there's Gamblers Anonymous. He didn't realize that it had the same support groups as drugs and alcohol. And I was floored at that, because I certainly knew, I had known for 11 years that existed. As we said in the other podcast, at 18 I called the hotline. Which, by the way, I just want to say something real quick about our podcast on this gambling addiction. This is my story and whatever I think about gambling and what Chris and what my friends and family think about gambling, and generally, like to help people who think they have a gambling problem. But somebody who listened to this podcast recently, my mother, said, why aren't you giving out all the Gamblers Anonymous information at the end instead of saying, just call the hotline? Why aren't you giving the number? And I will tell you why, though, that I haven't been a big proponent of it, which is because it's not my organization, and I don't necessarily agree with everything they do, so I don't want to tell anybody like that's the end-all, be-all. You do what you want, If you want it, if you need help, you can find a number. There's plenty. You can Google Gamblers Anonymous, you can find it. But I'm not saying that that's the answer, and I'm also not saying that this podcast endorses Gamblers Anonymous, which is why I don't think that we've given out that sort of information. We just sort of suggest it at the end. If you need help, look that up, that sort of thing. Okay?
Yeah, I think we might need to edit that whole thing out.
Why?
It came across as sort of, I don't like Gamblers Anonymous.
It's not that I don't like it. I just don't want to tell people what to do. Here's what I'm saying. I don't have the answer, so I don't want to suggest to people call Gamblers Anonymous.
That's the thing. We don't need to have answers for people. We're not giving anyone answers. We're just pointing them in a direction.
That's a good point.
Through listening to your story, it's been brought up before. It was just brought up now that, they're not the end-all, be-all of fixing your gambling addiction. There are things that you like about it. There are things that you don't like about it. But it's interesting that you brought that up, because I actually have their website and 2 phone numbers, one for California and one for North Carolina, right here that I was going to give out at the end. If you have problems or if you have questions.
Well, give it out at the end again.
I will. But the 2 numbers, one is a GA number. The other is not. It's just a help hotline.
Is it your number? Your number on
if you have problems gambling, call me. So
yeah, I was genuinely surprised that my uncle didn't realize that gambling was an issue, which made me realize that a lot of people don't realize that gambling is an issue. And I was thinking yesterday that
it's like Tom Cruise doesn't think that psychiatry is a real science.
On a Tuesday, if you are in a casino and you look around, my guess, and I have no facts to back this up, but my guess is if you're in a casino on a Tuesday afternoon, you look around, my guess is half the people you see have a gambling problem. Because it's supposed to be a form of entertainment. I think that's why casinos exist, is to be a form of entertainment so people go out.
Yeah.
Tuesday afternoon at 3 in the afternoon, that's not the entertainment hour.
Yeah.
Those people have problems.
Or many of them could have problems. No, that's a good point.
But I think today, Chris, we are about to talk about going into the casino. Let's get sexy with it.
Brian's ritual. Okay, so we're walking into a casino, you and I.
Man.
Okay.
Believe me, if I'm about to have a good time at a casino, it's not going to be you and I. I go alone.
Okay, so you walk into a casino, then describe this process for us. For those out there listening that were skeptical of a gambling addiction, period, or had never heard of it or didn't realize that it was as serious as it is, give us your ritual. Tell us all about what you do and how you feel and how the casino and the gambling and the sounds and the sights and the smells all just interact to just give you a gambling hard-on.
Okay.
Convince me of your problem.
Okay. Well, it starts usually with a random day off of work or an evening off of work. I never went to casinos. Well, at the end I did, but generally never went Friday, Saturday because it's crowded. All the entertainment people are there. You get people after baseball and football games downtown Detroit going.
Uh-huh.
So it's too crowded. I don't like it. Because a lot of times when it's crowded, you can't get your favorite machine. And generally, I would have a favorite machine because I had won on that machine. So in my mind, I'm convinced that I can win again on that machine. But it always starts, the feeling would come over. Let's just go with an example of, I had a job where I was working, at a certain time, 40 hours. So I would have, I'd be out of work Thursday afternoon. I could work my 40 hours in 4 days. And I'd be out of work Thursday afternoon. And then I'm just free for the weekend. And I know I said I didn't go Friday, Saturday, but I would go Thursday night or Friday morning. Generally Thursday night. And it would be Thursday evening. I would get out of work. I would drive to the ATM. And I would take out, let's give you an example. Let's say it was payday, because, I can only go when I have money. So it was payday. Let's say I got $1,000 for my paycheck. And I'm already behind a month on my car payment, so I know I have to pay my car payment. So I got to take $300 aside. Can't take that $300. Can't use that $300. And the most I could get out of my ATM at the time, I think, back then was, I think I was using Chase. So I could get $500 or $500 or $600. So I'd go take the $500 out. Now, it came out of the ATM in all 20s, which was annoying. But so I'd get that, and then I would stop. I would buy a pack of cigarettes at the gas station and like a coffee or something for the trip downtown Detroit, because it was about 45 minutes. And then I would begin my drive. And now in the drive, I started thinking about all the bills I'm going to pay off with all the money I'm about to win. And I started to plot my course. It's so sad, but it's so true.
I was almost getting ready to slow you down a little bit here and say you don't need to put in as much detail, but this is obviously a ritual that you've gone through so many times in this exact same format. That this.
Yeah, I'm not this is not.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm going to let you keep going.
It's not an exaggeration. Some of the details might be a bit different because I'm sort of putting some different experiences together.
Yeah,
but generally, this is how it went.
Okay, keep going. You're thinking about the bills you're going to pay off with all the money you're going to win at the casino on Thursday night.
Yeah. So Thursday night, I'm driving downtown Detroit to Motor City Casino because, again, Motor City was my casino of choice.
Why is that?
It was right off the expressway.
Oh.
But even later on, I just started getting used to it. And Motor City to me was the dirtiest of the three, so you didn't get all the glamorous people who were down for playing craps.
Okay, fair enough.
You get people wearing,
I get what you're saying.
They're going to go to MGM, to Greektown, and again, I'm using Detroit as the example because that's where I was. But so I'd get in the car and I'd buy a pack of cigarettes because cigarettes at the casino were $10. Cigarettes at the gas station were $5. So I'm getting a pack. Whatever, this was a few years ago. I know now they're like $9, but
yeah.
I would get and generally have to buy a lighter because, again, I would lose lighters all the time. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But so on my way down, I would always think about what I'm going to do if I win a certain amount of money at each level, what I can do, what I can pay off, what I can buy. And it was never really buying anything because there wasn't really anything I wanted to buy at that point, I think, at that stage of gambling. I just didn't care. I wanted to pay off bills, and I wanted pay off maybe a car or something. Like, this was my idea. And I really wanted to go on a vacation. I think that was the only thing I would do. Gambling always gave me the openness. Like, with every trip down to the casino, the possibility existed in my mind that with this one trip to the casino, I might be able to just pick up all my stuff and just get in the car and go, because I might win God knows how much. But it might be life-changing. Like, everything was life-changing at that moment. I'm about to change my entire life. And that was the car ride down the whole time. Like, oh, man. And it would just grow. Like, that idea would grow on me.
And it was like this every time? Or
every time.
Oh, okay. All right.
Every time. A few times, not. And those were generally when I would do a turnaround. Like, if I had gone the day before and lost everything, but I still had like $60, and I was like, I have to get stuff back. But generally, I wouldn't take a trip down with just $60 because it's not worth the trip down.
Yeah, fair enough.
But on a regular day, I got $500 in my pocket. So I pull into the parking structure, find a spot, walk in. I always tried to hold the door open for people, give myself a little good karma. You walk in, they always check your ID, and they look at you like, is this you?
Yeah.
I don't know why. But, Motor City, they always made you take off your hat and stuff. I don't know. I guess they were trying to get people to... I think at some point somebody at Motor City shot themselves accidentally in the casino. Like a gunshot went off because they had a gun in their pocket, I think, and they accidentally shot themselves. I know. So they started really checking people. But, so there was a game that I won on because I would, at times, I was going to meetings and I wouldn't gamble for a long period of time, but my first time back at one point, I had won on this game. It was called something to do with a taxi cab. So at Motor City, you would walk in on the main level were all the table games, and then the newer slot machines I don't like. And you could, they just had a feel of you're not going to win. So there was downstairs is where the slot machines were that I liked.
Back up. Now I get to this is it's an emotional experience. There isn't any logic to it. Can you explain more about how new machines they feel like you won't win? Is that just from years and years of gambling, and you have this sort of
years and years of experience with the type of machine? Because again, I didn't play slots when I first started because I thought they were stupid. But then you use them for a while. But then what happens is the casino replaces slot machines.
Yeah.
And when they take your favorite, that one that you won on, that's what happens is it becomes your favorite because you won.
So the newer machines
and you're convinced that once you won once, you can win twice.
The newer machines aren't as good because they are, in a sense, replacing older machines that you may have been more successful on. And so it's an irrational, emotional reaction to...
There was a machine, this taxi machine that I won on, which was neat in its own way. But then there was another one called Coyote Moon,
all right,
which I sort of got used to playing as well. And it has a look and it has a feel to it. Now, there are newer Coyote Moon machines which are the exact same game. However, the casing that it comes in is more computerized. Well, the casing looks different, and the game itself is more computerized to where it just has a different feel, and I didn't feel like my experience was the same.
Okay.
And therefore it just didn't feel right in my brain to play those new machines because I was like, I'm not going to win on these new machines. I need the old machines with the square button that sits up. These new machines, the button is wider and it's built in.
Okay, so it might be like the older machines were refurbished to include newer games, but now they're just producing these games straight away out of the factory, completely electronic, and there was just something you liked about the older version.
The different brands, let's just call it the different games on the slot machines, the machines would look different and have a different feel.
Yeah.
On the new machines, every machine is the same, just called all the different games.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And it just didn't feel right. So I needed to find my machines that felt right. So back to the ritual, though. I'd walk in the casino. I'd go downstairs. It's an escalator. And it was, remember that? There's a scene in Rain Man where they're both in the gray suit coming down the escalator.
Never saw the movie.
You never saw Rain Man?
No.
There's a scene in Rain Man. Rain Man's going to count cards at the blackjack table.
Okay.
Because bad Tom Cruise thinks that Rain Man can do it. When he discovers that he counted all those whatever, and they get in the counting cards business, he's going to go make all this money. So he gets Rain Man a suit, and he and Rain Man are dressed the same, down the escalator and there's music playing and it's like the whole thing is open. And they do it again in Hangover. I think they kind of redo that scene as an homage to that, as a joke. So it's that sort of feeling. So every time I go down slowly. Now, as it got to be later in life, I specifically went to Motor City because I knew I wouldn't run into anybody I knew there. Because nobody was going to Motor City that I knew. They were all going to the other fancy casinos. So then I would also go down the stairs sort of with my head down a little bit and look around to make sure that there was nobody there that I knew right away. And only one time did I run into somebody I know. Somebody who was at Mike's wedding, actually. But she had no idea who I was. Because next part of the ritual, go down the stairs. Right across from the stairs at Motor City Casino, there's a bar.
Mm-hmm.
I did not drink a lot when I gambled, but I always got a beer on my way in just to sort of have. Because I knew I was about to set up shop. I was going to find one of my two favorite machines, and I was going to sit there. So I grabbed my beer. I always make sure to tip, get that good karma, go over to my favorite machine. If it's available, great. If not, go to the second favorite machine. So let's say it's available. The taxi machine is available. The taxi machine was a nickel slot. And you're like, nickel slot? That's not a lot. You can bet a fudge lot on a nickel slot.
Yeah, you got your multipliers and...
the different lines.
Yep.
So basically you're doing, let's say there's 9 lines. And lines are the ones that go, lines are how you get a win. The line goes across.
One line would be
all the way.
straight across, 3 the same. 2 lines, it might go in a diagonal. Exactly, yeah.
And you can play a certain amount. You can play 1 line. You can play 9 lines. Some machines you play 40 lines.
Yep.
So on the taxi cab machine, and then you can bet 1 nickel per line, 2 nickels per line, 10 nickels per line. Some machines 20 nickels per,
So your 1 nickel could turn into $20 per button.
You're playing 10, 20. Yeah. I mean, on average, I'd say, it was like $3 to $6 every time you press a button. Which, when you look at a nickel machine, you're not thinking that at all.
No, it's part of the gimmick on how they sell you.
I've lost several hundreds of dollars on penny machines in minutes.
Yeah.
So taxi cab machine. So I would set up. I would pull out a cigarette. I would make sure to light the cigarette. I started, as years went by, when I would first get there and I had my $500 in hand, I would put, and then remember, they're all in 20s. And it takes a second. Now the excitement has built, because I'm sitting at the machine now. I want to start playing. But I got to put in all 5 20s. I got to get it up to $100 because I don't want to have to go back to my pocket. I don't want to bet $20, lose, and then have to go back out, get the pocket. So I want to be set. So I would make sure I put $100 in. But really, as time progressed, I started putting in $200 because I was like, well, I'm saying I'm planning to lose this $100. I don't want to have to go back in my pocket that quickly. So I'm just going to put in $200 now. Just roll with it.
All right.
So I put in $200. I'd light a cigarette up. And then take a sip of beer, put all the bets in, and then there's 2 buttons. You can either press the number of lines, which you always got to do the max number of lines when you got money. And then you could either put 5 nickels times the 9 lines or 10 nickels times the 9 lines. I would generally start with 5. I don't want to go maxed out all the way. Max is for a special time when you kind of, like, you're feeling it, and you're like, we got to go for broke here.
Okay.
So once you put the money in, there's repeat the bet, which is repeat the bet you just had, or there's max bet, which would max it out every time. Generally, I was playing max bet after a few button pushes anyway. So I would alternate because in my mind, I would think like, well, what if I press this button now? Maybe I'll win. So what would happen is on this taxi cab game, and here's why I would go to this, is because when I had taken a break from gambling, and I gambled for a little while, and when I came back, one night I was at Motor City, it was 2 or 3 in the morning, and I won on the taxi machine. I won $2,500 on the nickel slot.
Okay.
So in my mind, I was like, I can do that every time.
Yeah. How often did you win?
Describe wins.
How often did you walk out of a casino with more money than you went in?
Oh, not often.
I know, but are we talking 3 times in your life?
I've hit jackpots. That's happened. Never a huge jackpot, but I've won jackpots of $3,000, $4,000.
But I mean, not just jackpots, but are we talking 10 times in your life? Did you walk out of a casino with more money than you went in with, or?
You know what? 10's probably a good answer.
Out of
14 years.
14 years, 10 times. Okay.
A significant winner, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like where I was walking out with like $1,000.
Okay.
Which I would consider anything over $1,000 would be a significant win for myself at that time. At this time I'm making $13, $14 an hour or something, so $1,000 is a paycheck.
Yeah.
But on this taxi cab game, there were wilds, and a wild can take the place of anything.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was this, it was also a wild, but it was a stoplight, because it had the taxi cab theme.
Sure.
With a meter and all that. But one of them was a stoplight. And on the stoplight was a red, a green, and a yellow.
Oh, no, really?
And the green was like ×2. Shut up. Good point. All right. Everyone knows how stoplights work. But the red wouldn't give you anything. Green was like a multiplier ×2.
Yeah.
And so you get these multipliers, and on a line, problem is you can hear the sound. You can hear the sounds it makes. So I got into such a mind frame where I didn't even need to look at the screen. I could just hear the sounds. And so with each button push, my heart is jumping up and down with the sound. What's the scientific term? A reaction, basically I wasn't getting excited. My heart was just doing it on its own from the sound, because I had heard this sound so much that I knew if I was going to win or lose based on sound. And so at certain points, my heart would jump. And the main thing on this game was to get to the bonus round, because then you're not spending money, and they're giving you like 10 free spins and more multipliers and more everything. And so that's when you can really, like, all of a sudden, like, your mind is blown, like, holy shit, I just won $500 on one spin. Holy shit, I'm up to $1,000.
So what you're saying, though, is you quit paying attention to what you were doing visually. You didn't even need to look at the screen anymore. You were so in sync with this game, so used to it.
I mean, I looked at the screen, but I'm just staring at the screen like...
You were such a addicted gambler that you knew if you were winning off of the sounds that this one specific machine was making alone. Okay.
I specifically remember being at Mount Pleasant it might have been the last time I was ever at Mount Pleasant, and I lost all my money that night. But there was a moment where I was about to win huge, and I did not. But my freaking heart jumped, and I thought for a minute, because again, back to the ritual, when I'm in a casino, I'm chain smoking. Like, sitting in front of, and I smoke from time to time, bars and stuff. I chain smoke in a casino. I don't chain drink, I chain smoke.
Okay, yeah.
Like that beer I got at the beginning, I would get 1, maybe 2 beers, because I didn't want to have to get up and pee. A, I didn't want to lose the machine. B, I don't want to just hang out in a casino. If I'm there, I'm there to gamble.
Yeah.
I started playing slot machines because I hated waiting for people at roulette and table games. I hated waiting for people to place their bets before they would spin the wheel or drop the ball. I hated waiting. I couldn't wait. Like, I'm here to gamble. Let's gamble. Get me on the machine. Let's press a button. That's why I started playing slot machines.
So that you could gamble more efficiently.
So I could just get it done. Let's do this. Bam, 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 bam.
Okay, so you go to your one machine that you really like, assuming that it's open.
Yeah.
You've got roughly $500. You put in $100 to $200 allotments as you gamble.
So here's what happens. On average, you win at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember earlier you said 10 times?
Yeah.
And let's say 10 times is 2% of the time I walked out a winner.
Okay.
I'd say of all the times I went to the casino, easily 60% of the time I could have walked out a winner.
Really?
Now, whether that winner is $20 or $300 or $3,000,
yeah,
could have walked out with more money than I came in. And generally, honestly, probably within the first 30 minutes of being in the casino, I could have walked out a winner. My problem was
because you get up a little bit, but you don't know when to stop.
Like, I could go in. You're like, I don't know. If you went into a casino, what would you be happy with walking out? If you won $40, would you walk out like, yeah?
I mean, if I put in.
But you wouldn't put in what I'm putting in. Correct?
You're right. You know what? It is hard to sort of justify that. You know, my scale is I'll go in with a set amount. On the few occasions that I do gamble, I will decide ahead of time, like, okay, $20 or $40, maybe even as high as $50 or $60 will be my absolute limit. When that's gone, it's gone. I will stop gambling if I have a decent return on my investments. If I put in $50 and win $60 and end up with a $10 advantage, I don't know if I'd stop at that point. But if I put in $20 and won $100, I very well might stop at that point. But you're saying that that's part of the huge difference between an addicted gambler and a non-addicted gambler, or not to put words in your mouth, but is the difference between those that can stop when they're up and those that can't. I think that's a large part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard several people in meetings say the problem wasn't winning, the problem was leaving.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's a clever little...
Yeah, and our mutual friend Jason, like, he'll go in and tinker with $20, and if he walks out with 40s, he's a happy man.
Yeah.
And I wish that was the case with me, because that would have saved me 14 years of grief. But I got to a point where I wasn't even satisfied with like $200. I was like, what's the point? I might as well use this to try and win more. Like, it got to a point where if it's not going to be life-changing money, then what's the freaking point of getting up? What's the point in going home if I'm going to go home a loser? That's not a good way to say it, because I was going home a loser anyway. What's the point? What's the point of going home? But I was going home a loser by default. Like, there was nothing else I could do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out. But to back up, I'm sitting at the machine. Got my $500. I put 2 in the machine. You know, I fluctuate. I get down to 100. I go up to 300. I go back and forth. All of a sudden, I'm putting in more money. You know, and sometimes I would win. Now, what I like to do, if I got to a certain point, let's say I put in those $200. If I got up to, like, $500, I'd cash out, take the ticket, which... God love casinos in the new age, because in the olden days you had to get a bucket, scoop out all the change. I started gambling where there's still buckets, but then eventually they moved to these slips that you can get, which are so much cleaner and better. So I would, if I got to a certain, again in my head, I don't know if it was OCD or what, but I had to get to like a number. Like if I put in 200 and I got to 250, I wouldn't cash that out and then.
Yeah,
but if I got
you
to
sort of set
500 or something,
okay, yeah, you set yourself up.
Like I'm like, oh man, I'm at $500. So even if I was at, let's say I'm at $513, I would gamble that $13. I would gamble down to that line of 500.
Okay.
I would take it down to 5, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try one more, and then I'd be at like $499 or something, $498, and then I'd be, well, I'm here. I might as well take it down to 400. For some reason, it's a weird thing, but I had
you
to.
can never
like,
really
let me
stop
get down to the even.
Yeah.
I would always talk myself into, well, let's go a little more. Now, on the occasions that I would take that ticket out. Let's say I get past the 5, and I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to take my 5. I'd put the 5 in my pocket, the $500 slip. Then I'd pull out those $300 worth of 20s that I still had, and I'd take $200 worth of 20s, and I'd put it in the machine and start over again.
Oh.
Meanwhile, I got that slip in my hand. Now, I lose that 200, right?
Yep.
And then by that time, I'm like, shit, I got to pee. I'm going to get up. Now, I wouldn't cash that slip. I go pee. I wouldn't cash that slip, and I take that $100 that I've left. Find a new machine, maybe the second-class machine, maybe that Coyote Moon machine. Coyote Moon was interesting because they had the bonus round that you could hear. It was 3 things that lined up on the 3 middle.
That's okay.
Reels. It was a certain. It sounded like there's an instrument that when you shake it, it sounds like there's sand in there.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like. 3 of those in a row.
Okay.
On this Coyote Moon machine, and if you hit that bonus round, you could hear it. So I'd get very excited on the bonus round. So I would take that money. Eventually I'd lose that money. And I'd take my slip, the $500 slip, and then I'd end up going to a machine and I'd put that $500 slip in.
Oh, so
instead of going to the cashier and breaking it down, I'd put that $500 slip in. And maybe it was about half an hour. I'd go to a machine, I'd put that $500 slip, or I'd go up to the cashier. If I went to the cashier, it would always be, do you want big bills? And the answer is yes. Give me big bills. Because it's easier to put a $100 bill in the machine than it is bunch of 20s. Yeah. Plus, it's not worth putting in $20. What are you gonna do with $20? You can't gamble with $20. So, eventually what we're headed is, I lost that $500. But in my bank account, I still have $500. Even though in my mind, $300 of that I need for that car payment that I'm still a month behind on. Yeah. But at this point, I've reached my daily limit on my ATM withdrawals. So then you gotta use your ATM card like a credit card. You have to go to the credit card machine and get a credit card advance on your ATM. So instead of paying a $3 ATM fee for using the wrong ATM, you're paying a $30 fee to use the credit card advance machine. So instead of having $500, now I have $470. And I also, in my head, I go, well, why don't I just take out the $470? I won't use it, but I'll take it out because this is all one transaction. I might as well get that $470 so I don't have to do a second transaction. I'll keep it, but I won't use it. And you know exactly what's going to happen. You're going to keep it and not use it. I'm going to blow through the 170 above the 300. Then I'm going to convince myself that I don't have to pay my car payment yet. And plus, I didn't lose this money, right? I still have it in my hand. It's just in the machine. Eventually, what would happen, I would lose that. Now I'm 2 months behind on my car payment. But there's still a little bit in my bank account. And I can over-withdraw my bank account. So I would over-withdraw my bank account, have to go back up, make a new transaction. When you make a transaction with the credit card advance, you have to give a thumbprint. You have to give your address. You have to give your bank card to them. You have to sign a receipt. You have to initial the receipt. And you have to do all this in front of a lot of people at the cashier station. As opposed to, like, man, I brought $50 down to the casino, have fun. You're over withdrawing your bank account in front of people and giving a thumbprint. You ever buy cocaine? You don't have to give a thumbprint to buy cocaine. I've never bought cocaine, but I'm sure you don't have to give a thumbprint. So now I'm 2 months behind my car payment. You know the money I get, I'm about to lose. Now, there would be times of teasing where I'm like, I've lost everything, I only have $20 left. And you just press the max button, and then you're like, holy crap, it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I've won $500 on a jackpot. Holy crap. And then I lose that $500. The worst part about winning a jackpot is the waiting. On those $2,000, $3,000 jackpots that I won, the machine automatically stops. If you win an actual jackpot, the machine stops. And somebody has to come over and hand pay you. Because over a certain amount, you got to pay the tax man.
Yeah.
And the only way to pay the tax man at casinos is if they come and take your Social Security number. So if you go into a casino without an ID and without knowing your Social Security number, you can't win a jackpot.
I wonder how many people that's bit in the ass.
Well, there's a second version of that, which for people who there's an option with casinos that you can legally sign yourself out of the casino, which makes it a trespassing law if you are on casino property once you do this. And a lot of people who gamble are problem gamblers who are in the program and stuff do this in order to keep themselves out. I never did it because I knew me, and I would rather lose the money than get in trouble with the law.
Oh, so it's like
I know we're jumping around a little bit here, but
no, but what you're saying is it's like you're not allowed on the casino grounds anymore.
You voluntarily sign yourself out of the casino.
Gotcha.
But one of these days, you're going to want to gamble, and you're going to go to a casino.
How do they...
And then not only are you hurting yourself by losing your money at the casino, but now you're trespassing, and you're legally in trouble.
Yeah, but how do they enforce that unless you win and you actually have to...
Well, they keep a list, and I wouldn't say that they necessarily enforce it because I don't know exactly. Like you said, I know they have cameras, but it's not like they have pictures of 1,000 people who sign themselves out. Problem is, if you go to a casino, if you win,
well, I mean,
you get that jackpot,
then you're screwed.
Then they're going to know. And I've heard stories of people getting caught. Like, it happens. But when the worst part, back to the jackpot, the worst part about winning a jackpot is the waiting, because you have to wait for the person to come to the machine to see what happens. They have to do their whole thing. They stick in a card and they do their whole thing. Then you have to wait for them to go get your money. And there's been times when I've been waiting so much. Granted, like, let's say, for instance, one of the jackpots, somebody's bringing me $2,500 in cash, right? This is what I've been waiting for forever. Oh my God, $2,500 in cash. I'm such a degenerate. While I'm waiting, I'm on the machine next door, gambling whatever I've left in my pocket. I can't even wait. $2,500. I'm a man who's never made more than $46,000 in 1 year. I made $46,000 one year. That was my best year, and that was working 2 or 3 jobs. I don't remember which year that was. That was 3 jobs, I think, at one time. So, and granted, I was working those 3 jobs because I had gambled. But still. Yeah. So, $2,500 was a huge amount to me. And yet I couldn't be satisfied enough to just now. So I'd get the $2,500. Your jackpot comes. $2,500. She hand pays you. Here's how stupid I am. And how nice I am. I would, the person who brings you cash, they didn't do anything but their job.
Yeah, sure.
But I'd tip them. And generally when you win, I'd be like, here's $100. Just because you're like, I got the money, make it rain.
You would tip somebody $100 just for giving you the winnings that you just won. I need to go work at a casino and be that guy.
I did that several times. I did that every time. Because when you have money you're in a casino and you're lost in that, like, feel-good stream, it doesn't matter. You're just like, yeah, we're all feeling good now. So then I'd tip $100, and then I'd take that $2,400, let's say, and I can tell you exactly what would happen next, is I would put $2,000 in my back pocket. Well, here's what happens first. She pays me. And at that point, I'm like, all right, I'm going to step away for a moment. I would go to the bathroom stall, go in, lock it, then pull out my money. Because I didn't want it, because I had to count it and sort it out and get some of it into my wallet. And I couldn't do that out in public, so I'd always go into a bathroom stall every time. Huh. Lucky I never dropped hundreds into the toilet. But so I would take, let's say 25, now it's 24, plus some change from what's left over from the machine. I'd take the $2,000, I put it in my wallet, and I take the $400, like, I can do whatever I want. I play any game right now. It doesn't matter. I can bet $100 on one bet, because this $400 doesn't fucking matter. I would do a lot for that $400 these days, but at that point, it's like, this $400 doesn't matter. I just won 20, I got $2,000 in my wallet. So I'd go up to some machine I'd never played, put in the 400 and bet it as fast as I could, like trying to really hit a huge jackpot. Never once did that work. Then I'm back in my wallet, and I would then, like I told you about the even numbers before, instead of taking like $100 out to try and win again, I would take 500. Like, now I got 1,500 in my wallet, I'm going to take this 500 and try and go win big. I'd lose that. I'm down to the 1,500. Mind you, I'm still negative in my bank account.
Yeah, you've already spent $1,000 of your own money prior to this.
I could easily replace everything that was in my bank account. I could get ahead on my car payment.
Well, you're only $500 ahead total now for going over the whole evening still.
Sure. So, eventually I would just lose it all and not walk out with anything.
So,
and then
your bank account
would come.
Overdraft.
My bank account's negative. I'm already behind a month in the car payment and probably other payments. And then, finally, I'm at that moment in the casino where I literally can't get any more money off my credit cards or out of my bank account. And I'm broke. And then I just realized that today was payday. I spent it. It's 2 weeks until the next payday. What the fuck am I going to do for the next 2 weeks for anything? And the answer is not pay any other bills. Don't eat as much.
Is that why you're always skinny?
Probably. And wait till the next payday when you can go back and win your money.
Wow. You do this every time you got paid when you were in your gambling modes?
Whenever I could, yeah. When I was in mode, yeah. Whenever I, like, now eventually I would get paid and it would replenish my bank account. You know, like I'm 300 in the hole and let's say I get that $1,000 paycheck again. Now I'm 700 above, but at that point, I gotta pay my car payment. So I would pay it, but I would still be, I'm working from behind. And you do that enough weeks in a row, and all of a sudden, I'm getting a second job. I literally got a second job as a janitor. I was a janitor at one point, but that's later on. But I will conclude that with this, which is, I think the last time we talked, we spoke about my grandfather, and I took the money from him, and I think the one before that, we had gotten to the point where you had said something to me, and I went to GA, but then I never went back.
Sure.
Well, I remember specifically the time that I went back, and it stuck.
Okay, when you,
And I was at Motor City. I was on a poker machine. I had $200. I had been, like I said, I had done one of these things that we're talking about, up and down and up and down. I had probably been there for 7-8 hours.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
You could ride a paycheck.
I've heard about people I know.
That long?
Yeah, the up and the downness of it.
I figured you'd be done in
gambling and
hour or two max.
Well, just sort of like I said, like you win, you lose, you win,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even remember where time goes when I'm in there. I don't look. I turn off my phone, A, because I'm freaked out that somebody will call me, I'll accidentally answer, and they'll hear the slot machines.
Okay.
Or B, like in the day and age of, like Facebook on your phone, I'm always afraid that somebody could trace where I am or something. I don't know.
Sure.
I was paranoid. I didn't want to get caught. And so, specifically, I remember the time that got me to go to GA where I went for a decent amount of time. And it stuck. I was down to about $200 or something. I had just lost a chunk, and I had $200 left in my wallet. And I felt physically ill. I'd never felt physically ill from gambling before, but I felt physically ill. Maybe from all the chain smoking and the environment in there. But I felt physically ill. I had 200 and some change left in my wallet. I put it all in a poker machine. And I wasn't even looking. And it wasn't even one of those sound effects things. I wasn't even trying to lose. I wasn't even trying to win. I was trying to specifically lose. I wanted to lose all my... Some switch flipped when I felt physically ill. I just wanted to lose all my... I didn't want any money on me. Like, it just made me sick. I put it in there specifically to lose it, and I just pressed the button until it was gone. I just kept pressing the button until it was gone. Like, it was a video poker machine.
Sure.
And I just kept doing this. Like, on the off chance I won $1 million or something, I don't know, but I just kept pressing the button until it was gone. Like, I left myself nothing in my wallet, and then I walked out, ever so sad, and then the following week I went to GA, and it stuck with me, and I say next week we'll talk about how GA stuck with me, and the good things about it. I mean, the good things it did for me. Do you have any other, about what I've said?
No.
That's a pretty good time right there. It makes me sound insane. Does it make me sound insane?
What do you mean?
I just like the...
No, I mean, it doesn't make you sound insane.
Somebody gave you $2,500 and you don't leave.
But I think it definitely shows the amount of detail that you can put into something based off of memories, the amount of times you actually repeated that process in its entirety. I mean, it really goes to show how deeply involved and obsessive you were over the ability to go and gamble your paycheck away. I mean, you were really deeply hooked into this emotional high that you would get. And of course, I'm sure experts would say things like, well, that's how they design things. You know, the temperature is going to be a couple degrees warmer than normal, or all the loud noises, flashing lights are meant to get your brain to release endorphins or whatever so that it becomes a physically addicting process. But I don't think anyone would question the severity or seriousness of how much you got into it. And so there you go. If your uncle is or will be listening,
he'll know now that it's a thing.
That's how you become addicted to gambling. But anyways, yeah, that was Brian explaining his ritual. I'm Chris.
Yeah, next week, I mean, I'll tell you, there's good things about GA, and especially when I walked in there and some of the people, and I'm not going to name them specifically, obviously, but yeah, I'll talk about the good things about GA that I dug. Plus, I was just ready to be done. I'd never ever in my life felt physically ill from gambling. But at the time, I was 25 or 26, and I just felt physically ill, and I couldn't do it.
Sure. If anybody's listening and wants and has a gambling addiction problem, you can go to the Gamblers Anonymous website, which is www.gamblersanonymous.org. I'm Chris. That was Brian.
I'm Brian.
Peace.